Kennedy was charismatic, articulate, and he was able to express his vision and lead people. Our next speaker, Wayne Choate, is going to talk to us this morning about celebrating the difference. Please welcome Wayne Choate.
Well, Patty, thank you very much for that very nice introduction. And good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning. I just have two questions for you here this morning. Two questions to get things started and maybe set the table for my message and my speech here today. But I'm going to need your help. I'm going to need a show of hands in response to my questions. Will you help me out?
Yeah.
Will you? Question number one. How many of you, all right, show of hands now, how many of you ever heard the expression, boy, those Southerners sure talk funny? How many of you heard that? Well, that looks like about 100% of you. That's just what I thought. Question number two. How many of you, now be real honest on this one, how many of you believe that Southerners, because they talk with that slow Southern drawl, how many of you think they're a little dim-witted? That looks like about 100% of you did. And George, you didn't have to raise both hands.
You wanted me to respond, right?
Well, thank you so much for responding. And Madam Toastmaster, in the limited amount of time that's been afforded to me here this morning, it's my objective, it's my hope, it's my desire that through my spoken word here today, you're going to be able to convince yourself that it's not just the Southerners who talk funny, that we all talk funny, and that we should celebrate that difference. Now, I found out early in life what you confirmed to me by raising your hands. I found out early in life that people think that Southerners talk funny and they're a little dim-witted. Found it out when I was a senior in high school. I went to East Nashville High School, and for a senior trip, we took a train from Nashville up to New York City. And I remember we arrived in New York City, and I was standing in Grand Central Station. I was standing there, and I was leaning up against this wall, smoking a cigarette. That's right, Carolyn, I was a smoker back then. Seems like every little boy, every little girl growing up in the Deep South, you know, down there in tobacco country, it seems like we all started smoking and started smoking early. So I'm leaning up against this wall, smoking this cigarette, when this New York City police officer walks up to me and says, "Excuse me, son." He said, "Do you see that sign?" And I look up, and to my amazement, there's a sign that reads, "No smoking." The officer says, "Where are you from, son?" I said, "I'm from Nashville, Tennessee." He said, "Where?" I said, "From Nashville, Tennessee." He said, "Oh, you're from the Deep South, huh?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Can you read?"
Oh.
And I thought to myself, can I read? My mother teaches at the university. My father's a superintendent of schools. And this clown asked me, can I read? I looked him right in the eye and I said, "No, sir." Can't call me dim-witted, Pat. I think that was pretty quick. I mean, I think it got me out of a citation. But I knew from that day forward that everyone that I would meet would think that Southerners talk funny and they're a little dim-witted. And then just a few short years ago, my wife Kathy and I decided to go to the New England states. I decided I was going to do a little research on all of this difference in dialect and the way people talk. Oh, back in the New England states, we went through Massachusetts. We toured the Freedom Trail. We went to that little historic town of Plymouth, Massachusetts. We toured Rhode Island. That was Dan Collier's state, beautiful state. We toured Connecticut. We went to New Haven, Dr. Dave's state. That's a beautiful state. But as I was back there, I started to do a little research on the way they talk. And Herbie, let me ask you this. What is the capital of Massachusetts?
Boston.
That's what I thought too. But you know what I found out back there? Back there, The capital of Massachusetts is Boston. They talk funny back there. Now let me ask all of you, how did you get to this meeting this morning? How did you get here? Drove a car, didn't you? That's what I drive too. But you know what they drive back there? They drive a car. They talk funny back there. One last example. Oh, Ryan, what do you do if you're trash when you throw your trash away?
I just throw it in the trash.
That wasn't the answer he wanted.
No. Try it again. Where do you put your trash?
In the trash can.
And the garbage can.
There you go. Hank's puts his in the garbage. You know where they put their trash back there? They put it in the garbage. They talk funny back there. It's not just the Southerners who talk funny. They talk funny. Hey, look, let me bring my research into the Sandpiper members. Now, you take my good friend Bill Yim over here. Bill Yim was raised in Hong Kong, China, spent an inordinate amount of time in Kentucky. His dialect's so messed up I can hardly understand a word. He talks funny. Now, let me give you another example. My good friend Hank Johnson here. Whenever you walk up and talk to Hank Johnson, and let's face it, that does take a while. But when you walk up to talk to Hank Johnson, he just opens his mouth and you know that he's from the Windy City. He's from Chicago. Oh, one last example. My good friend Jim Sullivan back here. Jim's from a small little town in Nebraska, Creek, Nebraska. And let's face it, he does talk a little bit of a southern drawl, and well, let's face it, he is a little bit with it. But he talks funny. And that's all I really want to do here this morning, is to allow you to convince yourself that we all talk funny and that we should celebrate the difference. Oh, you remember that New York City police officer? I'll never forget it. He asked me, he said, "Son, can you tell me the difference between a violin and a fiddle?" I said, "Yes, sir, I can. A violin has strings. A fiddle has strings." We all talk funny. You know, maybe I can bring my message around the mountain. Maybe I can drive home my point by a little rhyme if I can remember the words. Every single blade of grass, every flake of snow is just a wee bit different. There's no two alike, you know. From something small like grains of sand to huge gigantic stars, each one was made with this in mind, to be just what they are. Well, there'll only be just one of me to show what I can do. And likewise, Sandpipers, you should feel mighty proud and celebrate, because there's only one of you. Madam Toastmaster.